Hello and welcome to yet another Dragon Crypto Gaming's Legend of Autumn Draconis video. Chica with you here, providing progress report of how things have been going when it comes to the Slayer's journey in the plains of Draconis. My heroes, five of them, the dream team, have been going pretty alright to be frank. I've always wanted to level them up together, but mages are uber powerful. My only master hero, the biggest rank. So those two are obviously a whole lot more skilled in terms of stat points. The mage, of course, is also an apprentice, and being a mage itself is one of the most powerful builds in the game. So those two have gone way up there at level 17 and 19, while the others, like the Crafter Gatherer, the Speed Critical Hit Specialist, and the Light Armor Specialist, the Genesis Warrior, they've all lagged behind in terms when it comes to leveling up. So we'll take a look at our fringe player. Well, this is the neophyte corruption hero that I had that I wasn't really sure what I was going to make it into. I've tried multiple different ways of doing it, tried to make it a gatherer at first. Didn't work out, used an amnesia gas when it was still cheap. Can't do that anymore. Kind of wished I had made it into a mage, but kind of also not because magic weapons aren't that easy to come by. I've got this amazing runite sword for really cheap from the marketplace. I've decided to, make use of all the dagger use that I did. Got some blade mastery, and so the sword comes in handy because it also uses the same blade mastery to get that much more extra damage on enemies, and that has really helped take things along with this particular hero right here. Was struggling a lot at about level 7 8 with daggers not having enough damage, but with the swords, the good weapons will always have enough damage to be able to get through a lot of these enemies and see that. Light armor obviously makes it a favorable opposition to our sword. And we are doing significant damage now with this hero, and so it can at least hang in with the crafter gatherer and the genesis warrior in terms of staying in their level, sort of. I will take a look at the mage, who has been absolutely amazing. To be really frank, like, I'm glad I actually did a proper mage build. And I did wish in the beginning that I had a mage starter kit, but you see that 5 attack right there. I had this particular hero going around trying to use a polearm weapon to make something out of it. But then once I got my hands on an artifact wand and legendary wand, it was just gung ho from there. Some amazing loot here and there that I've also procured during this whole slaying journey. Magic based loot are all going to the mage. Got that amazing necklace with plus 12 magic and 4% critical hit, which is gonna really get things along for me. And generally speaking, it's been pretty good. Also used the two wands to go dual wield to get that bonus as well. And when it comes to battles, there's absolutely no match. This mage has been acing every single enemy that it's come across, and as a result, it's been very easy to get this particular enemy to level up too. I mean, the power of the mage is absolutely amazing. It also works for the lower heroes. If they are having trouble with their own enemies, the mage can just step in and provide a hit or two, and also take a hit or two, and make things much easier for the lower levels to finish things off, and keep that slaying momentum going, so that we don't get stuck anywhere particularly. If you are playing with just one or two heroes, I would certainly recommend at least having a mage build in there. And also make sure you have a corruption hero, because each time you level up with some points to magic, you will get one extra point because of the magic bonus that the corruption heroes have. Now we go to the master warrior. The biggest rank I've got, it's also a corruption. Maybe I could have made it into a mage again, but I always thought because of those extra points, I needed her to be upfront, making all the moves and just literally going through enemies as much as possible and getting us as much loot as possible. So I always put her stats up with in terms of attack and endurance and defense as much as possible. And then later on, I just started to focus more on attack and endurance. A little bit of speed as well because I experimented with this warrior when it comes to her weapons. Most of the bigger loot that I get goes to this warrior. Try to fortify her as much as possible. She is the one who most of the times have the tiny dragon as well. And in terms of weapons, earlier it was the heavy axes, and then I turned to the daggers to try and make use of the speed bonuses. And then eventually I realized like axes were the most powerful weapon in the game right now, and a dual wielding axis, especially being one-handed, is it's just way too powerful to ignore. So that's the build I've gone with her, dual wielding single-handed axis, gem infused if possible. This master warrior has never disappointed. It's one of the heroes of mine that has never died as well. There's also maces, which are single-handed heavy weapons that can also come in handy. I'll be looking into them as well, and hopefully trade them off, trade axes and maces as availability permits. Now, crafter gather. Again, this is one of the most interesting builds that I've done, and the one that I really had to think a lot about and put some effort into. So these most of these equipment that this crafter gatherer have got from the crafter starter kit, and the gloves, the braces, the shoulders, the belts, and the boots, and they've all almost stayed all throughout the game, and I think they will stay all throughout the game because they're just amazing. Plus gathering and plus crafting a lot of them as well. The idea is to somehow get to 350 way down the line to repair mythical stuff. 350 for Fable, by the way, 250 for mythical, and 150 for artifact. Right now, I've managed to get to 100 because of the augmentations as well as skill points I've been giving. But because of the augmentations, I was also able to give enough points to attack, and that's proved important because otherwise it's not easy to level this crafter gatherer up. You have to pretty much spend money to get back turns and go into the deep woods and the mines to keep mining and gathering resources and make XP that way. But attacking and battling in the plains is the way to get as much XP as possible. So that, and along with that, all the equipment that I got from the starter kit had extra bonus HP. They are all equipment of health, so that has been a huge boon. Look at my endurance right there, 9, and look at how much I have, 3,441. So a whole lot of that is bonus, and because of the fact that I didn't have to put as much into endurance, that has helped in me putting more into crafting, gathering, and attack. And that kind of a build has made sure that my crafter gatherer had just enough impetus to keep leveling up. So that's one way of doing it. I mean, you could always have two different heroes being the crafter and gatherer, but for me, I only have two Genesises. I had to make one Genesis the warrior to keep attacking the plains to get the tokens from it as well as the XP. So the crafter gatherer, I had to make one hybrid, especially when being Genesis, you would also get one extra point each every time you level up and assign skill points, because that's the bonus that Genesis heroes get for crafting and gathering. And so I went with that kind of a build. So it would do good for your crafter gatherer to have plus equipment of health to get that extra bonus of health, so that you can go easy on putting points into endurance, and as a result put more into crafting, gathering, and attack and defense as well. It's a long-term game. It's not something that you can immediately do, but it really does help in repairing some of the bigger rarity weapons like the epics and the uncommons and stuff, which are good gear that you don't want to let go immediately and don't have anything to replace with, as well as crafting some big time weapons like the Runite Sword you saw, the critical hit speedster build I had that I showed first up. So that leaves us with the last one. We got through three corruption heroes, one Genesis craft together, and this is the Genesis warrior. And like I said, you see how in the team there are different people for different purposes. The mage is the one who's dealing the heavy magic damage, especially for the heavy armor and the normal armor. But for the light armor, it's kind of nerfed. And that's where the fringe player with his swords come in, Master Warrior, corruption with their axe come in, and the Genesis Warrior with this scythe come in. Scythes are two-handed weapons but deal a lot of damage, but only against light armors. It's good against normal armors, but it's really nerfed against heavy armors. But light armor, can be a dicey opposition, and you do need someone like a mage who can do what they can do against heavy armor. We need something like that against the light armors as well, and that's where the scythe comes in. That's where this Genesis Warrior I've built in that way. Try to assign as many steel armor equipment as much as possible to this particular hero. Most of the points have gone to attack, defense, speed, and endurance only. It's a pretty simple build. I've just gone ahead, just buffing it up as much as possible so that it can stay powerful against the enemies as it levels up. And that's pretty much how it's been going because of this pretty awesome new update from the team, where you can see the XP levels of all the heroes up top. There's a green circle around them that's kind of going around and completing itself as you gain XP. It keeps track of which heroes are close to leveling up, and accordingly, you can try to give the other heroes turns to them, and then pay it back kind of once they level up, so that you use their turns to level the other heroes up. It's a give and take like that, and it keeps going like that, and you somewhat make sure that each hero at least gets one level up every day of turns and health that you gain back available. And you keep a steady flow going, a steady income of tokens, a steady income of loot, and a steady progress as well. Bit by bit we get there. The only real concern I've always had before and now is scaling your weapons according to you leveling up. That's always going to be a challenge, getting the weapons that you need to be able to hang with the bigger level enemies. But for now, we are good and we are going strong, and hopefully we can continue that way and see where we are at. So thank you for joining me for this progress update. A few build related tips and gameplay related tips in there for those managing multiple heroes, and also probably a good overview for those still looking to get into the game, or those with lesser number of heroes in terms of how they want to build them out. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Check out.